All right, hello everyone. Got a special video for you today. I have two guests on, Brandon, the book rapport, and Zigzagoon. They are friends of mine. I've met on Whatnot, fellow sellers, buyers as well, and we interacted over the last few years on Discord and other, YouTube and on Whatnot shows and whatnot. Right, so. We're going to talk book sourcing and book selling. All three of us sell books, different platforms, different strategies, different ways about doing it. So I think we'll get a pretty good mix of points of view and personalities. And I think all three of us are pretty passionate about the subject, and we'll have a lot of things to say. So first, I guess I'll turn it over to Brandon. Introduce yourself.
How's it going? I'm Brandon. I sell primarily on eBay and whatnot. This year, I'll be starting a direct website and selling antiquarian and rare books. And it's a fun journey. I'm excited about talking about this. This will be fun. I haven't really talked to anybody specifically about book selling on
He has no
YouTube,
friends.
and yeah, so it would just be this will be interesting.
And you do have a YouTube channel, right? It's the Book Rapport for those.
hmm Yeah, just it's not something I'm super serious about, but it's just something I play around with every now and then. It's nice to
Nice.
do reviews or just book content in general. There's so many things that you run into when you're sourcing that you feel like you want to like take a picture of it, show somebody, be like, look at this. And sometimes you run into so much stuff that it's like, how do I even begin to show everybody this? So I don't know. You got to find some happy medium with it.
Yeah.
What are you using to make the website that you're going to start?
There's a company called Bibliopolis, and they specifically make websites for booksellers. And if you go and you kind of look at some of the high-end booksellers that are in the US and in the European and Canadian markets, pretty much all of them use Bibliopolis. I've looked at all of these other website designs like Squarespace and all these other things, and you could kind of work a bookstore out of it, but it's just not ideal for it. But with Bibliopolis, they'll build the website from the ground up for you. So I've gotten to give them all kinds of design information and stuff. They have a general architecture that fits book selling really well. And then they have all of this back end software that deals with inventory management and allows you to not only publish onto that website, but it allows you to cross post onto eBay and other platforms. So I'm not really sure how well that'll work, but they part of it is there's a little bit of a subscription fee that goes along with the long-term maintenance, but any kind of help that you need, they're really responsive, and they've been really awesome throughout the design process. So
Oh,
it
so
should
you've
be
already
up and going in
started.
a few, like a week or a month or something
Ooh.
like that. So, but it's something that I was just sort of envious about with other antiquarian booksellers, that there's a polished edge that I'm kind of searching for, and this whole process has been really organic for me. So this just seems like the natural next step. And then along with that, or like there's some certifications that you can get from the International uh, Online Booksellers Association. And they basically just have some standards where it's like, do you have descriptive listings? Are you taking photos of the thing you're selling? Do you have a set of good reviews? Have you been doing this for a while? And are you paying your taxes and all that stuff? And they'll give you a little certification that will go on your Bibliopolis site. And then I think there's the AOBA, the Antiquarians Booksellers of America, something like that. And there's a number of others that you can, as you get more serious and more refined in it, you can go get those certifications and put them on your web page, and then it just says, hey, I'm not fucking around with this. I'm serious about it, and I'm serious about the way that I want to sell to customers, and I'm serious about the quality of books that I want to sell. And so it just feels nice to sort of step up into those different levels. And not to say that there's anything wrong with just grinding it out, selling books on eBay, because that's really been a lot of fun. You know, and I'll probably throw it back to you at that, because it I'm sure that you have experienced a lot of joy out of just like getting something posted and then getting it sent to the right person, you know, that wants the book, and having everything just go okay. You know, it just feels nice.
Yeah, I never heard of that website before, somehow, strangely. So I'm gonna have to check it out. I've been thinking about doing something like that in the future, but the only one I really hear about is Shopify. And I don't know
Yeah.
if that works for books at all, or how that even works.
Well, it's
But
Bingo.
well, that's yeah, I don't know about that.
It's like Book Shopify, isn't it?
Is
Like,
it?
nothing. I've used it a little bit. Nothing wrong with it. I don't
I
know.
thought it was kind
It's
of more like Mercari.
maybe. But anyway, Zig, you're asking questions before you even introduce
Oh,
yourself. They
sorry.
have no idea who you are.
Well, it says. Okay, hi. I'm Zigzagoon on Whatnot, or Zigzag Books and Games on eBay. So I just sell books. I mean, I don't know. I've been selling for about, I want to say 3.5 or 4 years, but I didn't start by selling books. So I've been through a lot of different categories, and found my home among books with you guys, and it's been great.
Good. And
There's
you
my
do some
intro.
YouTube, but it's not book focused right now. It's like Pokemons and stuff like that,
Don't
right?
link it. Don't
I'm not.
link
I won't.
it.
I won't.
I do, but I haven't done since my second child was born. So I need to get back in. I kind of want to make a book selling channel. I've been wanting to do that for a long time, but it's just so, the editing is what's especially time consuming. So
I
Really
do
time
like zero
consuming.
editing.
yeah,
Especially if you're already shuffling through books and listing books all the time. Like, it's a lot to like throw in their editing
yeah.
and video making. So
I don't have much free time lately to begin with. So even my eBay store right now is kind of suffering. I'd hate to add YouTube to that right now, but maybe in a couple of years we'll
Yeah.
see.
Well, and I do appreciate you guys' time. I know both of you had Whatnot shows this week, and Zig, you had two. And I saw the amount of packages you had stacked up. I'm sure Brandon hasn't even started touching his packaging yet.
no, got a big stack of them.
And
I should
also
have brought
being
my
a what?
stack and put it back here. That would have been
You
great.
could have done that. Say, look at all how many
Just
books you can sell.
flexing.
So I know how much time that takes, the shipping and the packaging. That's the unseen, not fun parts about the selling. But I think there's definitely worse things to sell and package than books. Books are fairly easy to package. They're fairly durable. So that part's nice. They just, the weight adds up real quick and the space adds up real quick. So
It's funny. It's funny. Early on, when I was first considering book selling years ago, because I've been collecting for decades, I was so foolish that I did not realize that media mail was a thing, and I just kept looking at book sales online, and I thought, well, how do you make the economics of this work? It doesn't make sense with standard shipping rates, and it just like hit me like a bolt, like an idiot bolt that was like, oh, media mail exists for a reason, and it's just there. It's for sending books, and I think that that's one of the like benefits of American infrastructures, that we built in a system that just lets us send books cheaply to each other.
Yeah, no, it's
I used to
I
think
learned.
media mail was for everything. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I learned it from when I used to sell and trade video games a lot more before they went crazy prices and hard to find, that people would get mad. Oh, you can't send video games to media mail. And that's what made me learn about it, and then reading the rules on what you can and can't send. So that, at least that helped me. But along these lines, what got you in to book selling? Zig kind of hit at it a little bit, but I'll let you keep going. What made you pick selling stuff online and selling books, Zig?
selling stuff online well, more generally, I was trying to find a way to make a little bit of extra income after I had the first baby. So actually getting into Whatnot and learning that, I'm paying for these comic books or whatever it was I was buying and selling at the time. I'm paying like $10 for this, but there's a way for me to flip it on eBay and sell it for 30. So I felt something clicked there whenever I was shopping on Whatnot right after I had my first child, and I realized, wow, people really do this. This is like a thing that people, I get it. It had never even occurred to me that this was something that people do or did. So that's kind of how I got started. And I was mainly doing comics at that time. But then I got more into video games. And I was doing video games for, I want to say like 6 months or so, maybe 6 months to a year. And that was like my main focus actually on eBay. It was video games. And I just did Whatnot. I just did books on Whatnot. I didn't do them on eBay. But then as I got more and more into books, I started realizing, wow, these books sell, and these books are going to sell, and these books sell on eBay. So then I transitioned, like, I'm probably like 80 to 90% books now on eBay. So,
And it's funny. Most people think, what, people buy books? You know how many times I've heard that
yeah.
from people,
Mhm.
the comment. And then, you know, we talked about sourcing a little bit, or you'll go to like estate sales or things where video games, you better get there before it starts to even have a chance at getting them. Where
Yes.
sometimes there's expensive books that will be there for 50 cents because, oh, they basically think paperbacks are trash, right?
Right. Right.
So, and we'll talk about some scanners and stuff here in a little bit too, I think, but which is a part of the book selling business, I
The
suppose.
ecosystem.
Yeah.
Big part. Yeah.
But Brandon, how did you get into it? What got you going?
Well, so I had been collecting for years, and my spouse has a job that moves us all the time. And so pretty early on in our marriage, she said, "Hey, you know, you're not really going to have a career, you know, because we're going to be moving all the time. And so you just sort of do what you want to do." And which was a real blessing. And a lot of my background was in like agriculture and landscaping and urban farming. And so for the first few years, I did a lot of that. I did management of community gardens and urban farms. In like Los Angeles, and then we moved, and yeah, I realized pretty quickly that like the stability of like really finding a thing and doing it and then moving is very disruptive. And so we started having kids around that time, and so I was at home with the kids and just enjoying being a stay-at-home dad, but I was also going to thrift stores all the time. And just to get out of the house, you know, it's easy to like pack a kid in the car and go to the thrift store and go look around. And I was always amazed at the books that you would just casually find. And usually I was just shopping for myself. I was grabbing this or that when I saw it. And it wasn't until our second kid was just a little bit older, like kind of going into preschool, that I had a little bit of extra time on my hands during the day. And I started thinking like, well, I wonder if I could actually sell some of these books that I'm finding. And it's funny because I never wanted to make a big initial capital investment into a business because I'm not a business guy. And I never wanted to take any risk because I'm not really a risk taker. So I just started with a handful of books, and I had an eBay page. And so I put them up there, and I said, well, I'm just going to see if I can sell these books, you know. And within a few weeks or so, I sold a handful of them. And every time I sold one, my wife was so proud of me. She's like, "Oh, that's awesome." You know, it was just really exciting. And so it was just, you know, the sort of carrot and the stick thing where I was like, well, this is working. Let's just keep doing it. And so I just kept feeding more books into it. And it really just sort of very naturally built and grew until eventually I decided, well, let's just buy a lot of books at one time. And I found a collection that this guy was getting rid of in Denver, and basically just shoved them all into my garage, which was also full of like furniture, tools, and stuff. And I just said, let's go, let's do it. And I just took it really seriously after that. And each year, I just sort of set a very, set of basic goals. Like I want to sell this many books, or I want to list this many books, or whatever the goal was, just little intricate goals of, every year I'll do this a little bit better and a little bit better, and I'll find a cheaper way to do this or a better way to do that, or I'll find better books to sell. And every year I've been able to meet those goals and just let it grow. And it feels nice. It's like, wow, it's like that scene in Rick and Morty where, Jerry's like, I just kept crawling and it just kept working. And that's That's how I feel.
How did you stumble across Whatnot? Obviously, everyone knows about eBay, but that's kind of an unknown thing for a lot of people.
Yeah. No, I got sucked in just watching booktubers, talk about it. I was like, oh, what is that? And I opened it up and I was like, that is a hole where my money will go, you know? And so I looked at it with real caution, and it wasn't I never even really considered, I was already selling on eBay, but I had never really considered selling there because at the beginning there used to be some pretty strict qualifications, and when I read through the qualifications the first time I looked at it, I said, maybe I'm not there yet. Like, give it another year or so. And then somebody from our book group messaged me one day, and they said, oh, that, like, it's really not hard to get on there. Like, I got on there. And he's like, and I'm just fucking around. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I decided just, what the heck? Because Whatnot is great for selling cheaper paperbacks and, in large numbers, and which is a hard thing to do on eBay. And there's so many books that have sort of a moderate to medium low price, anywhere between like $3 and say $15. That's a hard thing to convince yourself to list on eBay. Even if you want to have like a nice looking inventory on eBay, it's like, well, there's infrastructure there. And so going on to Whatnot, it makes sense that you can just peel through cheap inventory like that and figure out a real live handle on what the book market is asking for. And that's been really nice. It's just to figure out, well, what do people want? What are they looking for? What are they most excited about? And it makes me excited to go and then find that stuff. And I usually avoid things that I think are boring or that I'm not interested in. I just try to stick to a couple of lanes of knowledge and, really represent those lanes as best I can. And if I find inventory that's sort of outside of those lanes and it falls into my lap, I'll embrace it. But for the most part, I really try to remain laser focused on what I'm selling and the kinds of books that I'm selling.
And Whatnot too, it lets you, as a seller, reach out and actually talk to people. It is time consuming, especially even as a buyer. Some sellers are very slow when they sell. So I've sat around and bought, a lot of, actually, I'll get into how I got into selling in a second. And, but it's definitely a unique atmosphere. It's almost like kind of being at a flea market, but online.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It meets Twitch. So you get to kind of see things. You get to pick and choose. You may pay. You could probably go buy a lot of those books on eBay, and some of us do. We'll talk about sourcing for less than $1 or something a book, or maybe $1 or so with shipping. But for a lot of people who don't sell, they don't want to pay $50 for 50 books. They want 3 of those books, right?
Right.
So they can come to us and buy 3 of those books for $3-4 each. They get to pick and choose what they need to fit in their collection. So I think that's kind of where Whatnot fits in the best. And even then, just because they're lower in books, I've seen really nice books being sold on Whatnot. I've bought a pretty nice book from you on Whatnot. That Dying Earth, right? So there is some gems to be had on there, and we all want to put some good stuff in our shows. But yeah, for me, I was a little opposite. I was a buyer on Whatnot for a while. I used to kind of buy and sell video games, collecting, and I didn't really want to fall into that trap again. It's not a trap. I enjoyed it. It helps, but it's work. It's work. Yes. It's a lot of work, as you guys know. So I was like, I don't really want to get into that because then it starts taking up space. But then I started buying stuff on Whatnot, and then I'd buy upgrades of worse copies that I had. And so I was getting a couple boxes of extras. Then you go to Half Price Books or a local bookstore. I think, Brandon, you had a pretty good trade-in spot, but for most of us, the trade-in stuff is like you're going to get pennies per book, right? Yeah. So, and even the nicer ones still isn't very much. It's like, what am I going to do with all this extra books? And then right around that time when I was kind of teetering, I found a local lot that was like an hour or two away, or hundreds of books for a really good price. So I'm like, there I go. I'm in now. So then I got into the selling game and went on. But I think I was almost a year of avoiding the selling thing. Maybe around there. And I bought from both you guys at one point or another. But very similar to what I did with video games around 15 years ago. Buy lots, keep what I want, sell the rest. At the minimum, break even or subsidize what I keep.
Yeah.
bonus is profit, right? So that's my outlook at selling books: is don't lose too much money, pay for the stuff I want to keep, and profits bonus. But I know you guys have a different focus. You're doing this as a business.
Well, but to your point though, like that's the way a lot of collectors have traditionally operated in these markets. Like beyond, before the internet, there would be these guys that would set up tables, at the park, and they always knew that, like, he's going to be there on Tuesday and he's going to have science fiction books and he'll trade with me. And so just people swapping books, basically swapping the same money back and forth over and over again for books has been going on for a long time. So I feel like it's a tried and true tradition, of like making sure that you're not spending too much money on your collection. You're keeping what you want. If you find something good, you bring it to your homie and say, hey, do you want this? I don't know. I feel like it is traditional bookselling, and in terms of like being a collector and not necessarily a professional. So
I do think we do things a lot different than, well, at least I do. Like, I'm not big on collecting, really.
You collect more than the average person. You may not,
Yeah, definitely more than
the level of some of us and
Yeah.
Whatnot Discord do, but for the average person, you have a nice collection.
But as far as like keeping stuff for me, I'd say I probably keep less than 1% of what I buy. Yeah. So I'm mainly buying to sell as opposed to the hobby collecting and
Is that your
funding the collection.
full-time work focus?
Well, not full-time hours, but yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's like me. I have a career job, and this is my side. Zig,
Yeah.
obviously, your first full-time job is being mom to little kids. That's very time-consuming. I know it makes it tough, and so I assume this gives you some flexibility.
Oh yeah, I want to work toward full-time hours. It's just a matter of getting the kids both in school. One of them is only 7 months old, so I mean we got a ways to go. But as soon as I have full-time free, I'll hopefully be doing this full-time. I think it's definitely doable.
Yeah.
What about you, Brandon? Is this kind of your full-time focus as far as work goes, or?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, my kids at this point, they get on the bus every morning, and my wife goes to work, and I'm left to my own devices here. And so every day I have a set number of books that I try to get listed, and I have to start my morning out by just shipping. So, till about 11 o'clock in the morning, I'm shipping, and then I'm listing. And some days I'll choose not to list, and I'll choose to go hunt because I need to get out of the house. And so I'm in a pretty big, sprawling urban environment here. So I've got a lot of places to go and look and source from, and they're very, very different kinds of places. But I'm lucky with that. I've lived in other areas where it's really hard to source locally, and so you've got to come up with a completely different way to do it. There, Zig knows.
I was going to bring this up too. Another part of what makes this a little different in our selling and sourcing is location. I live in a suburb of a major, world city of the Houston, right? You're in the DC area, Zig. I don't want to. You're in the state of Oklahoma, which isn't a very high population state.
Yeah.
And I also find, while I'm in a big city like Houston, I don't think it's got a lot of books to say I find some of you guys find locally up in the Northeast. It seems like that
Northeast is the place to be. Yes. You guys are so lucky. You got the jackpot.
I feel like I'm living off the fat of the land.
Lots of books up there. A lot of population in a dense area, right?
Yeah.
So,
and it's easy. Like, even if you're like where I'm at, like in the DC area, Baltimore is just right there. And New York City really isn't that much further. And, you got New Jersey in between.
Philly.
Yeah, Philly. I mean, there's all of that. And I regularly will just get in the car and I'll drive up to Pennsylvania. I'll drive, down south further into Virginia
or Nashville.
Yeah. I drove all the way to Nashville the other day hunting books. And there's even in those rural areas that I was stopping in on the way to Nashville, they're in there, and they come through there, especially the stores that offer trade credit, because there are a lot of other people that are, of course, doing the whole internet grind who are trading things. And so if you've got I found a few bookstores in Tennessee that, you know, their focus was on like DVDs and video games and books. And so you would have people that would come in, they would find books, you know, somewhere, and then they would bring the books in for trade credit, and then they would go buy DVDs, you know, with the trade credit. And so either way, you've got this flow of inventory that's coming in and out of places all over, you know, the rural states and the urban areas. But it's interesting to watch it happen, because everybody knows everybody knows that they've all got something they're looking for. Everybody's doing the side hustle thing as much as they can, and I think it's great. You know, physical media is awesome, and if there's the economics for it, then that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So do you think you do the vast majority of your sourcing like locally or just in person by traveling? Do you think that's where most of it comes from?
100%.
Will you say a percentage not 100% of your sourcing, right? But some, or is that 100% of your sourcing?
No, I would say probably like 90%. The other 10% is online, and it's in various places online.
What about you, Zig? No, go ahead.
No, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. How do you? What's your sourcing strategy, Zig? So we're talking sourcing.
Oh, very different. I'd say probably. I don't really keep track, but I would say at least 50% online, if not more. So, but I don't have like bookstores or thrift stores near me that have anything good. I mean,
you do a lot on like Facebook Marketplace, don't you?
I do. That's where most of my local buying comes from, is Facebook Marketplace. Yeah. Sometimes people will reach out to me wanting me to buy books for they're selling their collection, or they're selling what they don't want anymore. But
you put that on Instagram, right?
Yeah, as Instagram, or I have a Facebook page or Discord. Yeah.
And I don't have any of that.
Yeah, you don't do any of that.
None of that.
Yeah. See, I'm like a good combo between the two of you, I think.
Yeah.
But or we're in some Facebook like book groups, and they've some people post lots on there, and I think.
Oh yeah.
I tagged Zig the other day, and was like, hey, look, you might be interested in this. I've been buying too much lately, so I was trying to pump the brakes on buying every nice lot I see. So I share some with Zig, and she helped her have a good show this weekend. She
you helped me make like $1,000, so thank you.
See, I have a philosophy, like a business ecosystem philosophy, which is that there really is no real competition between sellers like us. Like, we're not competing with each other. And when I think about many avenues of sourcing, like you're saying, sourcing on Facebook, whether it be Marketplace or whether in groups or whatever, I never feel any FOMO about not being in that stream of the ecosystem.
Sometimes.
I do.
Yeah, I think that if I had access to it and I looked at it, I probably would have more FOMO. But it feels nice, at least for me mentally, to be disconnected from that and to have my own way of finding it, because it means that other people are doing it another way, and we're not all trying to do it the same way. And in reality, like, the only people we're in competition with are, you know, is Amazon or the people that own the companies. And it feels weird because, especially if you're selling on eBay, like you're quasi, you know, feeding it while, you know, trying to take what you can out of your sales. But I don't know. I just have this general mindset that none of us there's so much cooperation between booksellers. And there's so many times that a seller has contacted me, just like you said, you contacted Zig because you saw a lot. It happens so often once you find a group of booksellers that it's like, hey, I can't get these books. Will you come get these books? Like, you need to buy these books. I have too many books right now.
And we all want different books, right? We all have our different tastes of things we want or looking for, or we specialize in. I've bought a lot of books off Zig. I've sold some books to Zig. I think I've bought more than she's bought for me, but I've bought some books from you.
Brandon too.
Yeah, and he's bought books from me. So the joke is, it's for lack of a better term, that the book selling, especially on like Whatnot, it's very incestuous. We all sell each other the same books. Actually, there was a Dahlgren Brandon and I sold back and forth each other like 3 times. Yeah, and we kept doing it kind of as a joke until someone actually else bought it from me. So I was like, I really,
uh,
when I sold that
sorry.
Dahlgren the next time, I was like, I really hope Book Report buys this from me again. It'll be so funny.
It is
We kind
funny.
of did
And
that
I,
with that what was that book? I don't want to do specifics on it since it's a weird book, but it was like care self something caring
you're talking
yourself.
about your self-care book?
Oh yeah, that one, the troll bid that Brandon
Oh my god.
called her bluff.
Uh, well, that was
That's a funny story. Tell it.
yeah.
It's a funny story.
I don't even remember what happened.
So okay, I'll do it from a third party that watched it.
Okay.
So there's some self-care book that Brandon was selling where it was like 40 or 50 bucks, and Zig did a troll. A lot of us troll bid each other, and I've done it to Zig a bunch. Kind of gives you an offer. We get excited, and then it's just damn Mustang, he's offered me $2 for this $100 book, and I'll put a funny little comment. So she kind of did that to Brandon on the self-care book and offered him what was like $5 or something
Something like that.
It was
like
a
$50
perfectly
book.
fair offer.
And instead of declining it, I think he's like, okay, I'm going to call her bluff and accept the bid. And then you assume she was going to cancel it. He's like, nope, we're playing this thing out. You're going to send it to me. So he sent her the book, and then she listed it and sold it, and it was like, hey, look how much I'm selling it for. And
I listed it using his pictures. I didn't even take my own pictures.
So that's some of the little interseller fun we have on there. But for the most part, that's what I kind of like about book selling, is even opposed to video games, and maybe partially what helped push you out of video games. One is it's really hard to source for a good deal. Two, the buyers are they're ruthless. A lot of scamming, a lot of claims happen with video games, even when you're trying to be as honest as you can. I started seeing some of that. I focus more on like collector groups on like online and Facebook. It's a little less scamming going on there. But for eBay, I had a few, and I only did it a little bit on eBay where I had some, this game doesn't work, and I knew it worked. I wasn't selling crap. Is that kind of how you see that too? Zach? I see books for the most part fairly low drama, low stress. Everyone's kind of having a good time.
There are more scammers probably in the video game category. Also more return requests. But the real reason I kind of moved away from games is not because of that. It's more because of how time consuming it is compared to books. Like you got to get them in. They smell like frickin' crap. You got to clean them. You got to make them not smell anymore. You've got to sometimes replace cases.
Yeah, I do that with my books. I clean them.
Maybe repair the discs if you have the option to.
Or send it off to your friend to check if the battery works.
Yeah, exactly. And then like all that work for less margin. And I don't know, books are better margins. Books are easier. Books make me more money. So I sometimes will still sell video games, mostly Nintendo, because Nintendo goes quick if I can find Nintendo. But everything else is just like not worth the pain.
Everyone knows video games are worth money now too, and then you have like price charting, that actually has a written down, quote unquote, market value. Now it doesn't really consider condition and things very much, but it gives you a good book value. There is, right? It's really all over the place. It's harder to figure out, and so since it's even for the sellers, it's hard for us to know sometimes how much a value is. Right? The joke is, it's as valuable as someone will pay for it. But yeah, regardless of that, there is kind of a market value, right? A general, this is what it's selling for. Video games, that's very kind of cut and clear. With books, if the sellers don't even sometimes feel very good about how much something's worth, imagine what the average person does. So I find you can find valuable books a lot easier and a lot cheaper because just more of a ignorance of the general population on books and the value, and or just not really having a good idea what a true market value is. I don't know. That's my take.
Yeah. And I would say that's probably true for a lot of books that end up in thrift stores and things like that. I know that buying personal collections, I try to be really sensitive with the people who have those collections, because it's really hard for me. I mean, of course I would, especially when I'm looking at like giant lots of paperbacks, I'm thinking, well, I don't want to pay more than $2 a paperback, or I don't want to pay more than $1 a paperback. But when it's a serious collection, you've really got to look at it and say, okay, like I need to make a serious offer here for this. And if I can't make a serious offer on a serious collection like that, I won't do it. And so there's a lot of times that when you buy those collections, there are going to be books in there that are going to be worth the value of the collection. And a lot of people who just understand how this sort of thing goes, and they're trying to get rid of a collection, they're not worried about it. They've got a number in their head that says, if I get this number, I'll be satisfied. And if they're satisfied, then I'm happy and everything's great. But, there's a lot of luck, and there's a lot of good planning, and a lot of, preparation, and just being ready to pay a price that somebody's going to want for something. Even if you might get a really lucky book out of it. And if you get a lucky book that is very valuable, then you've got to sit on it and you got to wait. And I know I've waited months and months for expensive books to sell, wondering, like, do I have it priced too high? Is it going to sell? You don't know. And then one day it sells and you fall on your kitchen floor,
You bring up a good point. I didn't even really think about the talking this, but it kind of pushes me there, is some of the negative aspects of it. And is video games, you price it at the right price, you list it online, it's going to sell in like an hour or two, right, Zig?
Yeah.
If it's a good game. Books, even if it's a high price, valuable, desirable book, it can sit for a long time unless you price it too low, and then it's just another seller buying it off you so they can go and make that money, right? So
that's right.
Finding that right seller can take time. It eventually will sell if it's priced, not outrageous, but it's just not gonna move off the shelves unless Zig. I think you can sell those Dragonlance books really quick for the most part, and I just got that Warhammer lot, and I think those will move pretty quick. But those are kind of modern pop culture things people want more so, where more obscure mid-century books, there's a less high, people with money, but there's less of them and hunting around for those books.
That's where I think Brandon and I kind of differ too, is he goes after more of the high-end long tail stuff, and I think that works for him, obviously, but I don't like that as much for me personally. I like to do lower end, quicker sales, stuff that I think is going to sell really fast. I'm really focused on that stuff. So stumbling upon like a collection of antiquarian and older, but that would be an absolute nightmare for me. Like I would be going into that with just full of dread like that. I don't know if I could do that. Unless it's like Easton Press or something. Those sell amazingly.
You had a really good lot of those, I remember. A year or so ago. Speaking of, we didn't talk about it, genres. I focus mostly on science fiction, fantasy, a little bit of horror. I've kind of gotten a little more into horror in the last couple of years. I've traditionally wasn't much of a horror reader, and every now and then, some fiction books of certain. But my focus is very much on science fiction and fantasy. I think you're the same, Zig, but I'll turn over to you. Zig.
For me, definitely mainly science fiction, fantasy. I'll do horror, but I just can't ever find it really. And recently, I'm kind of getting into the sleaze books. And
that's right. You have.
I'm trying to. Yeah, I think those are really fun to sell. But I go into most purchases over the last year. I've been like, what will do well on Whatnot, because I'm much more focused on Whatnot right now, since I don't have the time to dedicate to eBay with the baby. But before that, I was way more focused on eBay. So it kind of just whatever I need at that moment is what I'm more focused on. Yeah.
What about you, Brandon?
Yeah.
You're everything, right? You're, as long as it's got binding and pages, and it's worth something.
Pretty much. Yeah. There's a lot of areas that I am just unfamiliar with. Like I don't know shit about cookbooks, or anything like that. But if it's lit and poetry, there's some like truly antiquarian stuff, like, pre-19th century stuff. But I don't hold a lot of that. And lots of science fiction, lots of fantasy, lots of occult. I've really geared the shop inventory over the last year towards occult and UFO stuff. But that's mostly because I found a huge UFO lot, and I like the subject anyway, and I know a lot about it. So it's easy for me to sell it. It's easier for you to sell it if you know about it, because it's easier for you to price it. You're more confident in your pricing.
And I got
about it, especially on Whatnot.
UFO stuff. Sorry.
Yeah.
UFO stuff is good.
I like Zig's approach too, because I feel like there's two major ways that the ecosystem sort of works, is that you've got volume selling, and then you've got sort of targeted specific selling. And I really prefer the targeted specific, and then I just keep the volume selling, on Whatnot. But even in terms of like bookstores, like those are the bookstores that you're going to get the best trade credit for, the ones that have realized that, like, oh, I'm going to make way more money selling volume almost at wholesale price for these books, while I bring in free inventory from the public and give them decent trade credit for it. And so, there's only so many bookstores out there that operate like that. And some of them lose their minds. Like at McKay's in Tennessee, for instance, they have completely lost the plot. Like they're trying to do both. They're trying to maximize the price that they get for every book while also selling volume. And you can't do both. Like you have to, if you're going to sell volume, you've got to leave a little bit of meat on the bone, unless you've got like a specialized audience like you do on Whatnot. Because Zig, you have repeat customers. So we all have repeat customers that come back, and we know what they want, and they're going to buy a lot of books, and that's fantastic. But you're definitely volume selling on eBay. You're trying to get it out there for the best price.
I don't think we're quite volume sellers, right? Because
Yeah.
volume sellers to me is like
definitely
thrift
on
book.
Whatnot, not as much on eBay.
I think relatively to selling the big, a couple of whales in select books, to where you can sell 4 or 5 books and make your money for the month, right? So we're definitely volume relative to that. But
sure,
when I think of volume, I think of like volume where you're just,
you
don't
like
even care.
Yeah.
Kind of like the storage unit sellers that happen to find a storage unit full of books. That to me, they're just buying.
They're
by
another
the box,
layer
right?
in the ecosystem. I've bought great inventory from sellers like that.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like, I don't know what these Star Trek fanzines are. Like, let's just start them at $1, and I've got thousands of them. Let's go. Like that's.
Oh yeah,
that's
I got some of those too.
They're gonna make money, and so they're happy. They made money on their storage unit, and they don't have to have the knowledge and the research and the care, right? They're wanting to get something and flip a quick buck. And then we're the next step. We get them for cheap, and then we flip them for a little slower buck. But we have our knowledge we've gained and experience that we can then leverage what's worth something and what's not, and have the customers for it that we built up. So, and then even then, I think there's another layer. Sometimes I think I have resellers buy stuff from me on eBay. Sometimes Zig always says my prices are too low, but she gives me shit. But
and it works the same with really expensive books. It works the same with really expensive books too. If you've got a book that's worth a lot of money and your margin on it is fantastic, you might not want to eat all the meat off the bone. You might want to price it in a way that some other seller at a higher tier that has a better, better audience for the book, they have repeat customers that know what they're looking for, and they can take a book that I'm selling for $2,000 and sell it for $5,000 to those customers. Then that's awesome. If you find the spot that you're comfortable with, and the amount of money that you want to make on an object, then that's great. You don't have to make all of the money possible on it. But that's the anti-capitalist in me.
So I didn't really talk too much about my sourcing. And I usually don't intentionally source on Whatnot, though you can do it. Especially, I can't go and source off you or Zig, right? And it's silly. I don't even try. And there's some of the respect there. But there are some who, again, like some of the storage unit sellers that say, hey, I got a bunch. They're not a regular bookseller. They just want to move their inventory. I've gotten some really good deals off them. And I think we all have at certain times. But another one I like to go to when I found some of my best hauls, well, Facebook Marketplace has been one, or like even Craigslist, though that's mostly dead now. But estate sales. And I know Zig hates estate sales.
I hate estate sales.
You do? See,
I
kind of don't like the weirdness of going into some dead person's house. That to me at first really kind of felt bad, and like these people bought all this, and this is like their home and their private possessions, and people are just rifling through them. To me, there's a little bit of a negative there. But then my wife is saying, hey, in some of these groups, they talk about you're passing on your thing to the next holder of it, and someone's going to value it and things. So you start taking that perspective, it's not so bad. And what else are they going to do? They're going to throw it away or something, right? So at least we're saving them sort of
I'm just
especially
terrified
books.
of the people. I'm terrified. The estate sales around here have so many people that line up for them, and I don't want to be anywhere near those people.
Mine aren't too bad, and I can go and like Zig and I had a Discord discussion a few weeks ago when I was going to this estate sale that showed some like Stephen King's and stuff. She's like, "Those Stephen King's gonna be gone in the first 5 minutes." It's like, yeah, you're probably right, but maybe not. I have been to some come on the third day of a sale at half off day, and you know, $200 Octavia Butler book I bought, right? And big hauls just because people don't know about paperbacks. Now, Stephen King, and then they brought them out front. And as long as they price them right, yeah, they're going to sell. And they were gone, except for one. But it was because they priced all the 6 or 8 Stephen King hardcovers at the front. They're $50 each. Like the Bachman book was gone, of course. That's worth more than 50. But there's like 1 or 2 left that were probably like $20, $30 books. And of course, they're still there. But I have had some decent luck in estate sales. And my wife also likes to thrift, so she'll go and maybe she'll find stuff that she wants to. So it's kind of a hangout thing we do together, but it's very hit or miss. You can't rely on them, especially around here. For me, I had a spree last year, and about every other week. So for about 4 or 5 weeks, every other week, I found like a killer estate sale with a book collection. It was crazy. One after the other. And then I went like 8 months until I saw another one.
Yeah.
So they're very hit or miss. You sometimes don't know what's going to be gone or not when you're there. I've been to some where they're cleaned out, and you're like, why? And then I've been to others where the book's barely been touched.
That's what makes you want to hoard inventory. And that's a real thing, because I refuse to pay for a storage unit. Well, and so whatever inventory I keep in my house. And it keeps me regulated, because otherwise, like, you don't want to have too little inventory that you don't ever have something to list, or if you go through a dry spell of finding books. But
nobody has that problem, trust me.
Yeah.
We're all over buying like crazy.
But that's how the mindset works. It makes you a little. It's like, I got to keep the books.
Well, to me, it's a good deal. It's good condition. What I've done lately is be much more mindful of condition. And for whatever reason, our buyers and whatnot have become much more picky on condition. I know Picklepuss, one of our buddies, used to sell books a lot more. I don't think does it as much, at least on whatnot anymore. I remember him, ruminating that a couple of years ago. People be buying these $2, $3 books, even if they're a little beat up, no problem. But now everyone's like, oh, that's got a crease in it. I'm not buying that. And I'm starting to feel I'm getting the same way. They're getting pickier on condition. So now when I go to bookstores and estate sales, a lot of times they, especially even bookstores, like they'll try to sell you, they'll have 2 or 3 of the same book. One's trash to hell, one's nice, and they're all the same price, right? They don't care. So I've been much pickier on condition pickups. What about you guys?
Yes, you have to be. The people on whatnot, they don't want your crap anymore.
They just turns them into bookmarks now, the beat up ones.
And I don't want to sell crap to people on eBay. It invites problems. And you want to provide the best inventory that you can. I don't know if you've ever heard of like the survivor's paradox. They look at the World War II planes that come in for a landing, and they're like, oh, there's bullet holes here and here and here. We should reinforce this. And somebody's like, no. If they got shot there and they landed, that's fine. We need to reinforce the places where they didn't get shot and they didn't come home. But it's the same thing with like a bookstore's inventory. Like you look at it and you're like, you walk into a bookstore and you're like, what can I find? And what you're really looking at are the books that are already sold, the books that are missing that, already sold somewhere. And so what I try to do with my online inventory is make sure that it never looks like the survivor's paradox is happening. Like you can go to it and say, oh, you're always going to find this book there. You're always going to find these books there. And they're always going to be in good condition, I
mean, there's a reason why every bookstore has 200 Andre Nortons on the shelves.
Yeah, because they didn't price them $1 each.
I'm being mean to Miss Andre, but there's a few authors that are very prolific. They may be good writers, but there's not a lot of demand for the books for whatever reason.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is you see those books and it's like, those are the ones that landed, So.
Yeah. And if something doesn't sell, don't keep it forever.
Yeah.
I mean, mark it down after a month, mark it down after 2 months, mark it down after 6 months. If it's not gone within like 2 years, I will never buy it again. And I might take it off my store. And I might run it for $1 on whatnot. I mean, That's the way to do it.
And if quality is one of the things keeping it from selling, then having a good quality one from the start is, you'll at least be able to check that box. It's like, well, it's in good condition, so that's not the problem.
Yeah, get picky about what you buy. That's my new thing. Well, I wasn't picky in the beginning, obviously. When we're new, we don't really know what to do, what sells,
you learn from the school hard knocks sometimes, right?
You learn over time, and you just refine your book selling practices over time, and you get better and better with every year. So.
I've talked to a lot of the old timers, like at Pulp Fest and stuff, and I worked in a bookstore, just as a teenager in the 90s, but there's those old timers will tell you, I had several of them tell me that, like, it's sad that you've got people now. I mean, I think we're all generally in our 30s and 40s here. He said, you've got all these young people who want to sell books. He said, but none of the old guard booksellers are around to teach you how to do it. And so you're all kind of stumbling through and figuring it out on your own. But at the same time, you're doing it at a market that these old time booksellers would have just lost their minds about. And that's why they quit selling books to begin with. Well, I can't compete with online, And so I think it's fun. I think it's what a bookseller should do. If they learn something about the process, they should share it with other people, because book selling is one of the oldest traditions. I mean, we've been selling books almost as long as we've been trading gold, and cuneiform tablets were in high demand. The point is that if you've got knowledge, you should share it. And if you learn something about the marketplace, it works in everybody's advantage to say, hey, like, this is what I'm seeing, and this is the trend that I'm seeing, and this is how I'm doing this to be better. And and I think setting those standards just casually, not really gatekeeping, but just saying, hey, this is what I feel like the baseline should be. I think it's good for people. I think it's nice for other sellers to come along and say, hey, there's a nice way to do this, and if you do it this way, you don't end up with angry reviews and people chatting at you mean. So, because that's scary. I'm sure that's happened to you, right? You've had like a bad eBay experience.
Oh yeah, we'll circle back there. I wanted before we get into the selling, and that's a good thing. I think I want to share some funny stories we've had, and the Library Ladder had a good video, and I think you talked about that with some of the way the drop shippers work and some of the scamming that happens on there. But as far as getting back in the selling thing, and I've seen it on Whatnot. I've had new people come in and try to sell, and I've heard a few of them. I bought a few books, some of them didn't sell, and they're like, these sci-fi books suck, so I'm not doing this ever again, right? And they try it once or twice, it didn't go the way they wanted to, and they get out of it. When we're sitting here, it's like, well, you just gotta, it works great for us. You just gotta know what you have and target the right stuff. Not just because it's an old sci-fi book doesn't mean it's desirable and or valuable, and condition matters, right? So yeah. I think I can't tell you how many, and a lot of us like it because they'll go on and they try to sell books for $1. They spend 2 hours selling these books, they make $20 or $30, and they're like, this wasn't worth my time. And no, probably wasn't worth your time, but it's also an investment. You gotta learn, you gotta put the knowledge and the work in. And I don't know, I've seen a lot of people churn through Whatnot trying to sell books.
Well, and you have to build a rapport with your customer base. Yeah. I mean, if your customers can trust you, it's easier to sell books to people because they know that you're not trying to scam them, and you're going to send them the books in a safe way. And, you're going to do your best to present the book clearly and say, this is the book, warts and all. This is the book I have for you, and it becomes a matter of choice at that point. But if they trust you, it's easier to make the choice.
And you were saying most people think that books don't have any value. That's true. Most books don't have any value. So I would say probably like 5% or less of books have serious value and are worth listing on eBay.
What do you consider serious value? So the viewers know what we're talking.
15 plus, maybe. I don't know. Serious value is obviously like hundreds, but the most books just aren't worth.
They're $2 or $3
buying, right? Or listing, or So I mean, it takes a long time to get that knowledge of what to pick up, what sells fast, what sells but takes a little longer, what you can price higher, what you can list on eBay, what you can sell on whatnot. Like all of that is just like knowledge that you accumulate over a long period of time.
Agreed.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
So we talked storage. You brought up the storage unit, and I've avoided it until now. But right until I broke my hand, I was planning on getting a storage unit. I will still do it, but moving all my books, or not all my books, moving my sales inventory and some other stuff, some shelving in there wasn't going to be very feasible with my injury. So even though I know it's going to cost, even I know it's going to cut into my meager profit I get anyway, but just more of the peace of mind. I have book box city in my rooms, in my living areas, right? Even in my where my collection is, I kind of want to have it more nicely displayed with less floating inventory boxes.
Inflicting it on the family.
Yeah, well, it's not really on the family so much. It's in my space of the house, basically. One of the nice things about living where I do in Texas is we have, well, maybe not in the last few years, but relatively speaking, cheap cost per square foot. So you can get larger houses for affordable prices here, and so that's allowed me some areas. But it's kind of getting to the point where it's too much. And then there's also, hey, I'll use it for it. The storage unit's really close, and I think my wife's going to store. She's got a lot of holiday decorations from different ones that she circulates through the year, and storing all those in there as well, and like in the back port of that. And I think it'll just give me a better peace of mind to enjoy my space more without all this inventory. Obviously, still leaving all my collection on the shelves and all nice and stuff, but just open that up. But what about you guys? What's the storage situation like for you? Either one, you can go first.
Me?
Yeah. Well, how do you do your storage? What kind of challenge is that for you?
Oh, it's a challenge. Challenge. eBay, I do those long boxes, the ones that a lot of the clothing resellers use. I think they work for books as long as you're mostly selling like the same sizes of books, you know? So like mass market paperbacks, trade paperbacks, hardcovers, those regular sized hardcovers. Those all fit in those long boxes. I don't know, but they all fit pretty nicely. You put them in suffocation bags and number your inventory, and then in the custom SKU on eBay you put in whatever the number is. Then when it sells, you go out there, you find the right box, you pull it out, go by the numbers, you grab it. It makes things so easy. Whatnot is not easy. My Whatnot inventory is, complete chaos. So I have a big bookshelf that I have beside the desk that I use for Whatnot, and it's usually a complete mess of madness, but I did alphabetize it last week.
Wow.
So I just pull books off of that bookshelf. And
what about you? Have garage too, right?
Stuff. Huh?
You have your garage too. You store some there as well?
Yeah, all the eBay inventory in the boxes is on storage shelves in the garage, and then like the corner of the garage is kind of a death pile a bit, but and then I have my Dragonlance and Forgotten Realms shelf where I keep all those. So it's semi-organized chaos, I guess. Yeah.
Do you ever see a scenario where
it's chaos?
Yeah.
Huh?
Do you ever see a scenario where you'd get outside storage at another facility or another place, or you can write that off as a tax write-off?
Yeah, there might be a world where I did that, but it would definitely be when I'm full-time, for sure. Not now.
Yeah.
Now it would just encourage me to buy too much, like Bridget was saying.
You tend to fill your spaces up with things if you have it, and then you overfill. So it's probably going to be, I'll get the storage unit, and then I'll fill that up, and then these rooms will get filled back up where they were. Hopefully, I'm going to try to have discipline to not do that, right? But it's a tendency some of us do, especially those who like to accumulate and collect, to do things. You fill up your space.
How
about you, Brandon?
You have a problem with that?
Yeah.
I have basically 2 floors of books, and it's only because my mother, she lives with us. We take care of her. She's an elderly woman, and she has the basement area like all her own, and she's like got a little apartment down there, and so I don't put any books in the basement. And so that's like a forced limitation. It's like we're not putting books in any basements, even if it's like a finished basement or anything. And then I've got this office space where I keep a lot of my active inventory. And so I've got stuff that is either just about to be listed or it's listed eBay inventory. And I've got a set of shelves over on the other side over here that you can't see that they've got a mix of exactly what Zig is talking about, the long boxes with paperbacks in them. It's where I keep all my eBay listed paperbacks and then Whatnot listed paperbacks. But then Whatnot books, I manage them out of milk crates. Honestly, I have as I'm planning out shows in the future and building inventory for those shows, I just keep tons of these milk crates around the office, just stacks of them, and I'll go through and build out the shows in those milk crates and stack them up. So whenever I've got a coherent show put together, I'll either go ahead and list the books or I'll already have them listed. And then I try to keep a process where if I'm listing books onto Whatnot to be sold, if they're not sold, I'll improve the listing, I'll add more details to it, and then I'll move it into my buy it now, which basically means it physically ends up on the shelf over here. And so I try to keep things physically separate as they need to be. Now I've got a guest room that has a wall of books, and the closets are full of books, in the rooms that I have access to here. And otherwise, I try really hard to keep them out of the other spaces in the house. But the dining room is usually a mess of books, if I'm being honest. Because it's like the first sort. You get it to the dining table and you're like, oh, I got to go through this stuff and figure out how I'm going to bring it upstairs and then where I'm going to put it once it's upstairs. And then downstairs is all my personal inventory. And I really do think of it like it's a collection. There are books that are sacred to me in it that I would never part with. But otherwise, I think of it as the next level inventory. I think of it as my improved inventory that is like a long-term inventory. This is the inventory that I'll start listing in 5 or 10 years, or maybe it'll end up in a physical bookstore one day, but it's just super special stuff that I'm willing to part with, but not right now.
So those are the ones you
collection?
Yeah. Those ones you tell your kids one day these will all be yours.
Yeah. I don't want to do that to them, but I think they look at them now and they're like, oh God, are you going to leave this? I'm going to sell them before. I'll turn it into college money, I promise.
Oh no.
Yeah, my I take everything up into this room first. So this is my processing room. See, I do a lot more processing. Zig gives me crap about it. I inventory every book I have is in a spreadsheet. No. Is in my spreadsheet. And it's over 7,000. So I have 7,000 line items in a Google Doc with every single book, author, it's in a series or not. I'll give the series number if I can. I'll even put a comped price that I find that's they can change over the month. So I'll look it up and find like a comp or somewhere.
It changes it every month.
No, I don't do that. But I will go if I'm selling it or I list it on eBay. I'll do a quick, hey, has this gone up or down since I comp this and put a price on it? So I do a lot of prep work and I clean. I wipe down every single book I get. I clean them. I de-sticker every single book I get, whether I'm keeping them or selling them. So but see, I don't just sit there and do that and it takes up 2 hours doing that. I do that while I'm watching a book report YouTube video, right? Or a TV show or whatever. So I kind of multitask with it. It gives me something to do with my hands, and then I'm watching something entertaining, and it goes pretty well. I know Zig, you don't put that. To me, it's part of the collecting for me. It's part of the hobby.
Yeah.
But because I don't see it as a business so much, it is. But I think if I started taking it that way, I wouldn't find quite as much enjoyment out of it. But yeah, I take everything up here, boxes on this desk, which is like my gaming computer desk and my work from home desk when I work from home. I sort them all here, and then I'll put it. And then if it's for me, I'll bag them or Mylar them for my collection. It used to be I would just go put them in a box or on a shelf, but now since I do YouTube and I pretty much show almost everything I get in a haul video, and I'm even behind, I'll go and then put them back in the box that I've got them in, or sometimes I'll mix them, and then they get staged for videoing. And then once it gets videoing, then I can disperse it amongst my sales boxes or collection. And then I've also do some annoyances in the past trying to find books I've sold. I have now an eBay bookshelf that's alphabetized outside my room there. And then I have a 2 list in eBay box The only problem I get is sometimes I'll pull stuff out of the eBay box to spice up a Whatnot show or something I have listed that hasn't sold in a while that is kind of a sought after book. Maybe I saw some people asking for it last week. Okay, I'll pull it off eBay and put it in my next show. I've done that a little bit at a risk, though, of selling that book and then still and forgetting to take it off eBay or what have you. I know, Zig, you've done that a couple times. I remember you complaining about it. You don't mix your Whatnot and eBay at all, right, Brandon?
No.
Yeah. So me and Zig do, I think, to a degree.
I do less now.
Try not to, but
yeah. The buy now and Whatnot, I had to give up on that because it was a huge problem.
Yeah.
It's a lot to juggle. I mean, you try not to. You start thinking about how many times have I touched this book, and how many more times am I going to touch this book? And when you have 20,000 books in your house, like, it adds up, and you want to start touching them as few times as possible. So you want to clean it, you want to get it where it's going, whether it's in your collection or towards eBay or towards Whatnot. And once you get the paths separated, I can't cross them back over because I feel like everything is organized up here, but like it's a house of cards.
So you clean all your books when you get them in, all of them?
Yeah.
Me or him?
Dang.
Yeah, I do too. Like every single one. Yeah. I get my little cloths, get them a little damp with some water, scrub them down, all the dust. Like, they don't have that little dusty, gritty feeling, or some of the.
There's always things that you miss, you try to, but I try to clean everything just because they've had a life.
And funny story about this. When I got that one of the big local hauls I got maybe a year or so ago, boxes and boxes of books. And so my wife and I were sitting there. We left those in the dining room, like you were talking about, because there's this open space. We pulled the books out of boxes, clean them down. And I was like, we got to clean them because it'll make them pop better on video. And I was kind of saying it in a joking way, but also semi-serious, right? It does look better. It makes them easier to sell. And she'd give me, it makes them pop. She'd kind of tease me about it and make fun of me. And the other day, she was walking in to come chat with me, and I was cleaning books. And she goes, "Oh, how I could!" I was wiping. That's really making that book pop. And then she goes, "Did I just say that? Okay, I'm leaving." And she walked out of the room. She caught herself, which she was giving me crap about for a year.
She wasn't joking. She was here.
She caught herself after she said it because she's like, "Oh, what did I just say?" Because she would give me crap about it.
It's a lot of fun to have a spouse involved in it, and just casually, like I do basically everything. But my wife, when she finds out some titles that I'm looking for, and she's out in the world like thrifting or whatever, she'll go look and she'll call me. She's like, "What about this one?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, grab it." And it's so much fun because it's like you just found a Pokemon,
She found me a Rudy Rucker software paperback yesterday at Goodwill for $1.
Yes,
yeah,
it's awesome.
Oh, every now she's found some pretty good ones. What about you, Zig? Your husband doesn't really get too much into your book stuff, right?
No. He went to a library sale with me one time. That was fun, but that's the only time.
We didn't talk about library sales. You've done that some, right? How's you guys' experience been with those big library book sales, or sometimes there's not even a library. Sometimes it's like big book sale of the quarter at some high school or some convention center. How's your experience been with those?
This is where we need to talk about scanners.
Yeah.
I was
so
kind of. You're picking up what I was putting down there, Brandon.
I feel like most booksellers are selling on Amazon and they're scanning, and we don't do that. So that's another thing that's really interesting about the three of us is the majority seems to do that. At least the ones that talk on YouTube about reselling and stuff.
Yeah,
but we don't do that.
No. Not never.
I use and now I've probably missed some books because of it, or I've probably bought books I think might be valuable, and because it's really cumbersome to look at. But I have looked at books sometimes, or what I'll do is I look up, do I have this book or not? Because then sometimes I don't remember. But
every now and then, and the thing is that this is what makes the library sales fun, is because as everybody else, there are lots of scanners that show up, especially here in the DC area. I'm sure it's the same where you guys live too. Lots of scanners show up,
or at the Goodwill bins too.
Yeah, and they're aggressive, they're competitive, they're edgy, and I just stand there, like a freaking monk, because I know that the minute the door opens, they're not going to the table I'm going to. They're going to the beginning of a row, and they're going to start scanning, and I'm going to go straight to the vintage tables or to the science fiction tables and just you grab the books that you can't scan, that don't have barcodes. And
I'll let you continue, but I have a story about that too.
yeah, no, and it you know, of course, not everything has value in those instances, but it's like you can see them stressing out, and it's just you float in, you find the things that you're looking for, you fill your bag up, and you float away, and they're still just back there scanning away.
Yeah.
And I had one of them ask me sometime, they pretty early on, they were like, well, how do you know about a book if you don't scan it? And I was like, you just know,
Knowledge.
you know about the books, like you compile this knowledge, and this isn't something that you put together in like a year or two to know all these titles and all these authors. Like this is a lifetime of hiding out in the fucking library.
We
You know,
continue to learn. One of the
from
things
the
I mentioned
humans.
in my videos and even on my Whatnot shows, there's so many times a certain book that there's so many different versions and printings and editions of books
Yeah.
that I've never seen before, and I continually see, and that's just in science fiction. I can imagine all the other genres I don't even know about. I continually see books I did not know exist.
Yep.
And I've been doing this for several years now and been a reader for most of my life. And it's always seeing something I don't see, which is great.
Which makes it so much fun.
I'm continually adding, better look out for this one. Or I remember someone bought this for $20 in that show. I didn't know that, and I'll pick it up, and you just add that into that mental catalog. But I was at a estate sale. Well, actually, one of the estate sales, I went a couple times and got all those awesome deals for. There's a scanner there. At least this was a friendly scanner. He was like, "Oh, let me move out of the way for you because it's in a estate sale." And these were non-barcode books for the most part, but he had an app that was scanning the cover.
Oh wow!
Yeah, he was scanning the picture of the cover, and I guess to match it. I don't know what app it was, but he was doing cover scannings. But maybe it wasn't very good. Because I was coming in even some of the ones he already looked at, and I was like, $20 book, Then I looked at his pile. He had some good stuff in it, but he also had he had some books I would not have picked up for the price they're asking.
I have not even considered that as a thing about technology, but I would have, like, now that you say it, I'm like, oh yeah.
Well, they have card scanners, right? Zig used the card scanners for your Pokemon. You'll put it on and it'll know what card it is and everything, what's set. So I imagine the same.
Super good. But yeah,
obviously he made some misses, but I've been at the library, the Friends of the Library though, and I've seen a scanner there before. They're sitting there, what I hate about it is they'll go and clear off an area or a shelf and kind of like, this is my area I'm looking at. I've claimed this territory. They don't say that, but they kind of act that way, right?
Oh,
and they'll put the pile away, and then they want to scan them, and this is the keep pile, and this is the not keep pile. But I was going through there, and what's fun, he kept looking over at me like he's feeling some FOMO because I was going to the shelf and going, and I was just pulling. Yeah, he hadn't gotten to that shelf yet, so he's like, "Oh, this guy's taking all the good stuff." He didn't say anything, but you could kind of feel with his body language and his face that I was coming in there and intruding on his like territory or something. And I was like, "Sorry, dude, I know what I'm looking for. I'll leave you all the other stuff."
Just pop out of the shelves when you know what you're looking for. You can scan across the shelves with your eyes. Yeah. And they will literally just pop out at you, after you've seen them a dozen.
Whatnot shows have helped train me. I can really go in there and I can just go. I can like glance through a shelf, and be like in like seconds now because I'm so focused on scanning for certain and having things pop out. Which when I first started doing it, it wasn't the case. I had to really pour over every single book, right? And, Zig, you've encountered some of the scanners, right, at some of the library sales you went to?
Not really. No? I don't think there are many booksellers around here. Probably because the sourcing's not good around here, but there's
reads in Oklahoma.
Guys. Huh?
Nobody reads in Oklahoma.
Apparently not. There aren't very many library sales near me. There are maybe I want to say 3 or 4 good ones a year. So I go to those when I can. But yeah, I've noticed a few guys who are very serious booksellers, and they are always there super early. But they run in and they don't scan. They just run in but they just grab nonfiction and stuff.
Okay.
They're not, and that's something that other booksellers focus on that is probably pretty profitable as well as nonfiction.
I don't know hardly anything about nonfiction.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if you know your lane, that's the thing. You just got to know your lane.
Yeah, they don't touch my sci-fi fantasy. They leave it for me, and I go through there and I'm picking stuff out and chatting with people who read, and I don't see many other booksellers really. A few who have booths and stuff. They do the booth, rent out booth thing. There are a few of those around here, but no not a lot of serious, dedicated booksellers that I've noticed.
Yeah, and I
And
have a friend.
I
Go
love
ahead, man.
shopping from the Friends
Yeah.
of the Library too, just because
Helping
libraries
those
are
nice
fucking
old ladies
awesome.
out.
Yeah, and every Friends of the Library bookstore that I've ever been into, no matter where it is in the country, has just been a golden experience.
They're
And
great.
anybody who goes into those places needs to be very respectful of those ladies because they do a great job.
And then it's volunteer work.
Yeah. They're
Yeah,
always
it's
so
volunteer work.
nice. And they're the best sales, like ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a friend that goes to the bins. I don't really have one that's close to me. I'm more in the suburbs. He lives in town, and then he goes to one of the big bins, Goodwill bins in Houston. And if you don't know what those are, it's basically whatever Goodwill doesn't sell or doesn't manage to put on the shelves. They just basically dump them in these big boxes or pallets of we lost Zig for a second. There she's back. Big pallets of books, and they just or it's not just books. All kind of crap, right? And you just dig through it and hope you find stuff. But some of them actually put a book section in there, and it's like, hey, I'm gonna go out there one time with you and look to see what books. I don't even bother. There's 2 or 3 people that are there every day when the books come out, and they're even aggressive with each other, and they kind of elbow people out of the way, and they're jumping on it, and they'll grab everything they can as fast as they can and put them in a basket and go wheel the basket off to the side of the wall, and then start going through their books, and then whatever they don't want, they just go and dump back, which should be against the rules in my opinion. But I'm also a pretty big guy. It's also almost a challenge. I like to see them try to elbow me out of there, see how that goes for them. But I don't want to fight over books. I just think that behavior, it's kind of like that FOMO Black Friday craze kind of with some of this. And there's enough deals, and books aren't flying off the shelves that much that you don't really have to behave that way to source.
You don't have to behave that way. Yeah. You don't have to behave that way.
People do that. A lot of booksellers do that, and I do not understand it. I don't understand why you would choose to do that over. Honestly, I don't understand why you would choose to go to estate sales or go out looking.
I find good books at estate sales, Zig. You sold my halls last year. My signed Lieber, my signed Faffords.
Commitment required. Like, you're sinking so much time. To me though, this is my thinking. Like, I could spend 2 hours or whatever, 3 hours traveling and looking and maybe I would find some really good stuff. If I lived where you live, maybe I could find some really good stuff, but like at the cost of me spending like 10 minutes online and getting more. So that's kind of my assessment of
I think the online finds are more reliable and repeatable, but I don't think they have the highs as an estate sale does.
Yeah,
because a really good find online, that's going to sell really quick, right? Someone's going to see it and they're going to buy it.
Oh yeah, you gotta be on.
You got to get lucky, really lucky.
Yeah.
So you it's probably more repeatable. More, I'm going to look tomorrow and I'll probably find a couple of lots that are worth flipping online or something, right? You can probably have that confidence in doing that. We don't have to stay so, but I'm never going to find an online buy, I think, that would match some of the estate sales I got in value out of what I found on the high end, especially some of all the signed books I got at that one estate sale. But they're just so few and far between.
Highs on Facebook Marketplace for sure.
That too. Well, I just got my Warhammer one.
Yeah, there are some crazy deals, but those are gone instantly. So you have to seriously be ready and lucky. A little bit of luck.
That there's also a value to, and I think a lot of people find entertainment out of physically sourcing. And you see a contingent online, they're like, I don't want to buy them online. That's cheating. I want to find them in the wild, right?
Yeah, that's how I feel.
I mean, if I had the option, I would be doing it just for fun too. Yeah, but I just really don't have the option.
Yeah, and so the estate sales, I get to do both, right? I go to estatesales.net, and then I'll scan them, and they usually have pictures. Then I can see if they have books or not, and then I can target. Okay, I want to go and look at that one or not. So at least when I go to an estate sale, I have a good idea. They have at least a few things me and my wife want, and we probably go to 1 or 2 every month or so, right? So it's not at a high rate. It's just, but on the other hand, and not too far from me, there's a lot of areas where maybe they had families in the 80s and 90s and pretty nice houses that are, all those people are dying now. So all their collections and their books in that area and a high population center. That's where I've been finding most of my finds have been around the same general part of town. That's not too far from me.
I saw a lot of that in Colorado Springs, and because there's a lot of retired military there, and so they sort of age out and they pass away at a pretty regular pace, and you could go to the Goodwills near the neighborhoods that had a high concentration of these retirees, and just see entire collections come in. And nobody bothered to check it. Nobody cared. It's dad's old books. Throw them into the Goodwill, and then they end up right on the shelf. And, they'll all have his name written in the front, and when I find things like that, and especially it's a good collection, I'll go out of my way to find every single book that's on the shelf that has this guy's name in it, and throw it in the cart. And there's something about that, because it's like you're saving it because of book feel.
You get a little sentimental in your book buying. I don't think Zig's near as sentimental as you.
No, it's not sentimental.
No emotion at all.
You got that Frank call. You're actually kind of annoyed. He franked up all my books. Was that his name?
Only because it was affecting other people. I mean,
yeah, I know. I mean, it's just joking that you just had what he's talking about, where this Frank guy wrote Frank in all of his books.
Yeah, a lot of people used to do that, apparently, because I see that a lot as well with the vintage sci-fi fantasy stuff. And then the book plates in the Easton Press, you'll see book plates and those old leather
or the
books.
Stamps, where people do that. Don't physically stamp your pages. I guess if it's your books, do what you want. But I usually don't like the little embossing page stampers that, like, from the library of.
I don't like the way they look.
You do?
Kind of. Like I know they affect value.
I don't like them, but I can. If you like them.
It's part of this. Every book has a little story about it, and that's why they're like little transcendental objects, And so some books you can pick up, and you're like, man, maybe somebody bought this book one time, put it on a shelf, never touched it, and it's perfect, and it's a perfect, nice book, but it's got no deeper transcendental value. But if you find something that's got dog ears and it's got a thing, it may not make the best-selling book because it's a little worn, but man, if it ain't got some chi,
And sometimes you'll find notes to people, or like old photos. Like, remember I found a book that was inscribed by somebody giving it to their significant other on like Christmas or something, and it was very cheesy, like, "Oh, my love, I hope you enjoy this book as much as I enjoy you." And then it's like, it's in my hands now, so obviously they broke up.
Old plane and train tickets and bus tickets from like the 70s, those are cool to find. Receipts of when they bought the book, those are cool. I use them as there's a lot of people that seem to use the receipt they bought the book as the bookmark.
I love that. Yeah. Love it. So maybe I am a little sentimental.
So, yeah. No, it's good. And in interest of time, we're getting up here a little bit. We'll talk a little bit more, and I know we all have things to go do and kids that need our attention. But you wanted to talk about some of the negative parts, or some of this. We have probably some funny stories of eBay buyers we can share a little bit that'll be entertaining. Or what are some of the negative aspects of book selling that you wish would be better? Either of you can go.
You want me to go? Okay. Well, so honestly, I haven't had that many negative experiences, but every now and then, you get some interesting offers. You get sort of the thing that everybody sort of looks out for on eBay specifically is people who might end up being a problem customer, because you don't want to close the door on anybody, but there are certain red flags that come up. And so my goal is to not put up red flags as a seller, and to have all just full green flags here. But I'll tell you this really funny story that that still wakes me up at like 3:00 in the morning sometimes. And this is why I don't deal with graded things anymore. A few years ago, when the Dune craze was kind of at its peak, I found some mint condition analog Dune magazines, and they were the most sought after ones, and they had really high comps, and they had even higher graded comps. And so I thought, what the hell, I'll get them graded, and I went to a local comic book store, and I don't know anything about comic books, and I don't deal with comic books. It's just way out of my lane. But the guy was really nice, and he was like, look, I can submit these for you. This is the fee, yada, yada, yada. And so we go through the whole process and send them out, and they come back graded pretty okay-ish. And I looked at them a dozen times, and then I took pictures of them, and I listed them, and I sold them, and somehow I just never noticed what the problem was, and I ended up selling the lot of them to a guy, and it was a really, decent amount of money. It was a lot of money. And the guy gets the books, and I was nervous about sending them because they were so expensive and they were graded. And I was like, well, I'll send them overnight, you know. So I paid to overnight them for whatever reason, because I'm just didn't want to fuck it up. I just didn't want to fuck it up. And the guy gets the things, messages me a few days later, and he's like, we got a problem. And I was like, what about a problem? And he shows me in the pictures, he's like, these two magazines were put into the wrong graded boxes. And I was like, holy shit.
You mean the slabs were swapped?
The slabs were swapped, right? And while this is happening, we're in the middle of a cross-country move. And so I'm basically in the process of like shutting my store down for the summer so that we can move house. And I'm like, holy shit, now I have to get these things back from this guy and then get them to the comic book guy, get them back to CGC or whatever the fuck it's called, and then have them fix it and send them back to me, and then hope that I can sell them again. And somehow I pulled it all off. Like, the guy was just understanding enough. He sent them back to me. I brought him back to the comic book guy. He called the guy, you know, at CGC, and they sent him in for free and swapped him out. It took like 3 months. And I got him back in at our new house, and I messaged the guy. And of course he wants an even bigger discount this time, you know, and I feel so embarrassed. I feel like I have to, you know, and so we do the exchange, and everything kind of works out in the end. But it was such a freaking nightmare. And I, just because of that one experience, I will never deal with graded material if I can keep from it ever again, because it is just fraught with danger. The last thing you want to do is, you know, is look like you're trying to pull one over on somebody. And I think the guy was really understanding. He could clearly see what had happened, you know, but it was stressful, and I was afraid that I was going to get a bad review. And so far I've not had a bad review. And one customer came really close. He was very threatening, and they ended up blocking his account. And that was over. He'd ordered a lot of books, John McDonald books, and I had all of the books listed, and there were a couple of repeat titles, but they were different printings, and so that was notated. And then I put in 2 extra books in the lot, but he was upset and he was upset that there were repeats, but I had sent him more books than there were that he purchased. And it was this whole thing. He was threatening me, and I'm just like, goodness, like, it's just books. It's just books. So
yeah, you had like 25 books listed, right? You said 25 books.
Yeah.
And you sold him like 27 books, or you sold him 25 and you gave him 27. They just had to be extras, and you got burned for giving extras.
Right. Oh, he was so mad. Anyway, you know, he was an optometrist, but he wasn't Three Snakes. So.
For you guys, Three Snakes is one of our whatnot buddies on there, and he's probably going to be watching this, so he'll get a kick out of that. But
he will.
I was going to say, though, real quick, to kind of deviate just for a second, you did mention you like book selling because of your nomadic lifestyle and you can't set up. But to me, a lot of people would be like, well, if you have a nomadic lifestyle, how are you carrying around a library of inventory everywhere you go? That seems like a pain in the butt. How does that work?
It's basically because of the way that we move. We don't pay for the move.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and so we're given a weight allotment that is almost impossible to exceed. And but not to say that doesn't make the movers very unhappy when they see how many books you have. I always try to pack everything myself before a move, because I don't trust them to pack it correctly. But I have everything. Our last move was especially bad, where I had just hundreds of boxes of books, and I tried to give them some ideas about how to load the truck with them, and they didn't listen to me. And then there were issues at the front end of the back end, and so it's not fraud. It's not without peril, but the fact that we don't have to pay for the moves makes it possible. If I had to physically move this collection and pay for it every couple of years, the economics of that wouldn't be stable. So, or I just wouldn't move with as many books.
What about you have any horror stories? Any bad experiences?
A lot. Nothing is really coming to mind right now, though. So, I mean, just like the normal psychos, Karens, whatever you want to call them. I have gotten bad reviews, not very many, but I managed to have most of them removed because they just didn't make any sense. A lot of people will get mad about stuff that is caused by the post office, and then they like think that that's me doing that. So that's a common um, point of anger, or it angers a lot of people when the post office takes a long time, and they somehow think that you're like associated with the post office when really you're not. As far as like one that really stands out, I feel like the ones that really stand out are my purchases, like stuff that I'm buying on eBay from sellers. I remember I had this one. I'm assuming it was a man, but it could have been a woman. I'm not sure. They sent me a lot of books, and I got them. But when I opened up the box, a lot of them were missing, and there was like stuff that I hadn't ordered inside the box, like some religious, spiritual material. So my thought was maybe this box got inspected since it was going media mail. Maybe they chose to inspect this box, and maybe like they got the contents mixed up with another box that they were inspecting. I don't know. That's what I thought happened. So I messaged the seller and telling them that this was what happened. And this person, they were like, oh, it's happening to me again. They're targeting me again. They've done this to me 5,000 times by now. I'm being targeted. Like, and their messages were like in all caps, just endless rants. Just like this keeps happening, and I can't believe, and are you sure you're telling me the truth, and you're not a scammer, and you're not a liar, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, you got to calm down. You're not being targeted. And so just like other sellers, man, other sellers are who you need to watch out for. I understand why eBay buyers are so quick to cast judgment and be suspicious, and most eBay sellers are not good. They're not doing their job properly.
Well, even the Whatnot sellers. I've had some terribly shipped books from eBay and Whatnot.
Oh yeah.
At times. Well, I'll go to a couple of mine real quick, and you saw some of these, Zig, recently. Luckily, I haven't really had many negative Whatnot experiences at all. All my negative buyer experiences have been through eBay, which makes sense. It's less personal, right? You don't build a book rapport with them. But you saw the one recently where I think it was one of those drop shipper flippers where they source from you and they send it to someone else, and they're the middleman. And so I was selling that Something Wicked copy that was, if it was in really nice condition, $150 book. This one had some water damage in the past. It had some rough parts of the dust. It still had the dust jacket, but I was selling it for $50, like way cheaper than and for condition wise. And I explicitly put everything in there. So he gets it. Oh, and then the first alarm is you get the sale, you get it ready. Oh, this is for a birthday present in 3 days. Can you get there in time? I'm like, well, what? And I go, I ship media mail. That was on there. And it's, sometimes it gets there quick. I told them sometimes they are not fast, right? Media mail is I've bought some books from Zig. I've gotten them in 2 or 3 days. Sometimes it takes a week, and she's relatively close to me. So I told him, hey, there's no guarantees, but I'm shipping it media mail. He goes, can we get it here faster? I was like, well, you can, but you got to pay for more expensive shipping. You only bought media mail. And they didn't say anything else after that. So I think they're trying to prep for a reason to cause problems. I think they're trying to say, oh, it got here too late, but it got there on time. It got there the day before he said that date was going to be. So I was like, cool. And then a few days after that, oh, this thing smells musky. I need a discount. I need a partial refund. Right away. I already asked him for it. This smells musky. So I think what he was going to do first is try to say it got there too late. He wants a discount, right? But it got there in time. So now he's going to say it smells. And it may have had it's an older book. It had water damage. It was clearly shown in there, right? You're buying a book that is worn in not in the best shape. And you saw that we went back and forth. He asked for a partial refund because I sent the screenshots like 3 times. And I'm like, if you're not happy, send it back. And the reason why he probably can't send it back is he probably drop shipped, sold it to somebody else, and he can't. And he's trying to recoup on his profits. Say, okay, I'll buy this for now. I'm going to hurry. I'm just going to buy this, get it to there, and then I can try to work them down, get a partial refund, and that'll be my profit margin. I think that's what happened. I can't prove it, but the way that went down, and the oh well, we want to keep it now because we can fix it, but I should get a partial refund for it. So I think it's all BS. And so for the most part, I've avoided that. But I saw that one, and then that other one recently where some guy offered me like 40% of what I had it listed for. And then I was like, hey, I'll work it down a little bit. But then he was getting all angry. He's like, oh, this is BS or whatever. You saw that I posted in the Discord, and it was over that like UFO ancient aliens kind of, those books. And then he copied and pasted this review that someone wrote of the book 30 years ago, and how this shouldn't be science fiction. This shouldn't be fiction. This is fiction, not this. And then I couldn't. The guy just seemed like he's off his marbles. And then he was like, well, I just found a copy $10 cheaper than yours for a friend. And so happened right after he sent that, or like an hour before he sent that, I sold it for my full asking price. And I kill him with kindness on there. I'm like, oh, well, great find. I just sold mine too for it. Looks like we're both in luck, something like that. And just, you'll get some weirdos on there. It's unavoidable, but.
And while you're talking, I'm just getting spammed by somebody on eBay. It's very relevant to what's going on right now. Just boop, boop. Yeah. I see it popping up. Continue. It's just eBay. Oh my gosh.
I take it a little easier. Yeah, I kill them with kindness. I don't. It's just part of the business. My wife takes it a little more personal. She gets all mad. She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna tell them off," and I'm like, "No. It's just chill." And she gets all upset. Yeah. But I know we're running late. I think Zig's got to go get her kids, and we probably lost the attention span of most of our viewers anyway. But I had a lot of fun talking with you guys. I know we chat and text all the time. It's pretty cool to be on video and see your faces and talking and more personal. Any last comment?
Do like a regular podcast type of thing. That'd be
good. Fun. I could do that. I if you're able to find someone to watch your kids and you can pull the time off at it, I think you're the more limiting availability than Brandon and I are.
A very regular podcast.
Yeah, but you would have to tell us when you want to do it again, Zig.
Sounds good.
But I'm down anytime you guys want to hang out. I think these are more engaging as a viewer too. I like watching these kind of videos from other YouTubers, so I figured that's something I like. Maybe our viewers will also like these. So
it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. I appreciate you guys coming on to my video. Flip it there.
Thank you for being here with us, Jay.
I will. If you guys want to check out Brandon and Zig's, I'll in the description, I'll have their eBay and whatnot store links if you want to support these guys and check out what they have. I have mine in there all the time. Theirs are much, they have much more selection than I do for sure. So, and then I think I'll tag your channel, Brandon, on here. You had a video recently. It's been a little bit though. Before that, you're taking a sabbatical from your YouTube, but it'd be cool to see you a little more active again on that as well.
Oh yeah.
So.
More rants, please.
Yeah.
More rants.
We need more.
I don't want to be in trouble.
You don't want to be the unhinged rant channel?
There's that British fella. He does plenty of ranting for all of us. So.
Oh man. All right, guys. Well, again, thank you very much. I hope the viewers, if you guys want to see more, a good way to see more is to comment that you would like to see this more, and if you enjoyed it or not, or give us any feedback or topics you'd want us to talk about. That helps generate videos if we know there's some interest in certain topics. So that would help us figure out the next thing to talk about if we get a chance to do this again. So
two bald men and books.
Yeah, two bald men and a scared lady dealing with these two dudes, two bald bearded big guys, and poor Zig. And have to deal with our crap. So
it's hard sometimes.
All right. Well, that's it. I'm gonna call it. Until next time, everyone.
See ya.